like thinking about this is kind of making me emotional. So I was like, Mom, like, I'm in pain. Like, I feel like I can't move. Hey y'all, it's KadijahB. I'm back with another video. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, hey boo. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let's get into this video. All right, so we're gonna do a story time today. I'm gonna tell you about my birth story with my daughter, Amira. I had her May 29th, 2019. And I would say my delivery experience wasn't a bad one. It was just the stuff that happened after I delivered her. So we're gonna talk about that, and I know you guys saw the title. I'm gonna explain why I thought I was becoming paralyzed. Okay, so we're gonna start at the beginning. So I went into labor on May 29th, 2019. I actually had a doctor's appointment that day to go to the doctor. So I thought I was going to the doctor, but of course I started having contractions and they began to hurt really bad. So I was like, Mom, I think I'm going into labor. So we got in the car and we were on our way to my appointment, and I called in and was like, my contractions are 5 minutes apart. Should I come in to see you guys or go straight to the hospital? So they were like, no, go straight to the hospital. We get to the hospital, they get me in the room. By this point, well, before I even get to the hospital, the contractions got so intense. And I was like, OMG. I forgot what this felt like. Like with my son, the contractions was like ridiculous. And it's just like when my daughter is just like, oh my God, okay, I'm starting to feel them again. Like, this is what it feels like. So I'm holding on to the door like, Mama, drive faster. Get me to the hospital. I need an epidural. Like, they need to hurry up and give me the epidural. I need it because I'm in pain. Right? Okay, so we get to the hospital, we get to the room, they check me. I'm 4 centimeters dilated, which that surprised me because with my son, I was already 6 centimeters before I got to the hospital. When they checked me with my son, I was 6 centimeters. And the pain, I guess it didn't hurt that bad right away as quickly as it did with my daughter. With her, I was already feeling like, oh my God, these pains are unbearable, and I was only 4 centimeters. So that did surprise me. So we got to the hospital. It was around 11:45 in the morning because my appointment was for 11:30. So we at the hospital, it's 11:45-ish. I get admitted into the hospital because of course I'm in labor. My water hasn't broke yet at this point. So we're in the room, you know, everything's progressing. They've given me the Pitocin and all of that good stuff. And then I'm waiting on the doctor to come in, or the anesthesiologist, to do my epidural. I got the epidural at 1:15. That's when they finally came in to do my epidural. At this point, I had already progressed to 6 centimeters. So it was like the last resort as far as me getting the epidural. After a certain point, you can't get the epidural. So they finally got in there and I'm getting the epidural. With my son, I was able to have one person in the room with me while I got the epidural. But this time they wouldn't let anybody be in the room. It was only me. Everyone else had to leave out. So I'm sitting there, the anesthesiologist is giving me my epidural, and he doesn't get it the first time. It happens to where he has to stick me a second time. I'm not sure what was really going on back there because I was actually having contractions and I was trying to focus on being still. He did have to stick me a second time.
No!
Second one, he's like, okay, yeah, you're ready to go. It's in there, blah, 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 blah. Everyone else can come back in the room. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm still hurting, still having contractions. It gradually starts to work. And I'm like, okay, cool. All right. I guess take a little nap. Once I was stopped hurting from the contractions, I was able to like rest a little bit, so I did fall asleep. I wake up because I feel like I have to push. So I woke up and I'm like, Mama, I feel like I need to push. And I keep saying Mama because she was in the room with me. I was talking to her the most. My boyfriend was also there. He just wasn't, he was just like, I'm here for moral support, but Mama knows what's going on. So I'm talking to her. I'm like, y'all, I feel like I need to push. Call the doctor in here. So I call the doctor. They come in. The nurse comes in. She checks me. She's like, oh, don't push. The baby's right there. You're crowning. I'm like, okay. They're like, oh, it's baby time. Like she's about to come out. Like, don't push, girl. I'm like, okay, so I'm holding it, but y'all better hurry up. So they call in everybody. Everybody runs in. Okay, we're about to have her. So after I've had her and everything, the epidural's starting to wear off. I'm just, enjoying motherhood, second time around. And I start to not feel good. I start to have this headache and this throbbing pain in my head. Like all this is throbbing. I'm like, why is my head hurting so bad? So I tell them, they give me some pain medication. And I was like, my shoulders, like my neck, all this is hurting. Like, I don't know what's wrong. They're like, oh, well, you could have pulled a muscle when you were pushing during delivery. I'm like, okay. So they give me some type of cream to like rub. It's supposed to like relax me or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. But they give me that. That is not working. My headache is getting worse. Okay, so I'm like, Mama, I don't know what to do. Because again, my mama, she stayed the night with me at the hospital because my boyfriend went home with our son. We have at the time he was 2 turning 3. So he went home with him and mama stayed at the hospital with me to take care of Amira, my daughter. So, sorry, there's something in my eye. So I'm like thinking about this, it's kind of making me emotional. So I was like, Mom, like, I'm in pain. Like, I feel like I can't move. Like, this is really starting to hurt. Like, so she was okay. So she called in the doctor. She was like, something's wrong with her. Like, we don't know what's going on. She feels like she can't move. She's having this really bad headache. She can't even really like hold the baby and etc. I'm like, I can't even try and breastfeed her. Like, I wanted to breastfeed my daughter like I did my son. But because I developed this issue, I was not able to breastfeed her. In the hospital, she did have to have formula because I wasn't able to feed her because I felt like I couldn't move. Like, it hurt me to sit up straight, so I couldn't feed her. So she did get formula. And so when we got home and I tried to breastfeed her, she didn't want the breast because it takes too long to get the milk out. So at this point, she only wants milk or she's upset and fussy, so I had to end up just giving her formula. So really upset about that, but what can you do? Back to the story. So, okay, so now they're like, well, we think you just pulled something. We think you found is what the doctors were telling me. They were just giving me all this medication for pain. And I'm like, this is not working. I can't. Mama, she was just like, y'all have to figure out what's wrong with her because she cannot go home and take care of a newborn and her other child if she can barely move. You got to figure something out. So doctors kept coming in, they kept talking to me. And I guess something I was saying finally clicked to one of the doctors. Well, not to one of the doctors. It was a doctor that was in the practice for the OBGYN that I went to. I'm not gonna name any names or anything. But that OBGYN, I love them. They're great. It was just, I guess, the attending doctors at the hospital who just weren't really telling me what was going on. So at this point, they're like, okay, it sounds like you have a post-dural puncture headache. And I'm like, okay, what's that?
What? Bro, what are you talking about?
And they're like, okay, so when you have the epidural, it sounds like you have a let me find, because I have the definitions for everything, because I was like, I don't know what y'all talking about. So a post-dural headache. It is the incidence of accidental dural puncture during labor, epidural insertion, which causes the post-dural puncture headache. Okay, so we're not even about to go into all that. Just know it's gonna have your head feeling like you're on fire. It's gonna make you feel like you can't move. Your neck gonna be stiff. Like all those issues I was having was the symptoms for a post-dural puncture headache. So pretty much he went in too deep when he did my epidural, and he punctured, and there was a hole in my dura, and it's like, I guess, leaking blood, and that's what's making the nerves give me a headache and all these issues that I was having. So I really felt like I was gonna be paralyzed. But then they were like, okay, well, what we can do is we can give you a blood patch, an epidural blood patch. And I'm like, what does that entail? And they're pretty much telling me I have to have another epidural, but this time they're gonna use my blood to fill up that hole that they placed when they did my original epidural. And I'm just like, are you serious? And I was so nervous about getting this done, but I was in so much pain that I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and do it. They made me sign some paperwork for it that I proved that I wanted it done. I was just like, look, please don't make me paralyzed. Just give me something to make me feel better. Like, I'm gonna go through this epidural procedure, blood patch again. Please fix me is what I was pretty much on. I was on like, if y'all don't fix me, what the fuck? Like, what I'm supposed to do? Okay, so they do the procedure. Then they were like, how do you feel now? And I'm just like, I feel a little better. So maybe an hour goes by and I'm able to sit up without a lot of pain. I still had the sharp headaches for about a week or so after the procedure, but I was able to get up, move around. I was able to move my neck. I was able to hold my daughter without having any pain. I mean, of course, I was still in pain, but it wasn't as severe. So once I got the blood patch, everything was pretty much better. As far as my pain levels, I wasn't, you know, I make a sharp move and I wasn't in pain like I'm about to just burst into tears or something. Like, I was literally bawling and I hurt that bad. So the blood patch did definitely help me. My overall experience with that, it really just scared me. Like, if I were to have another child, I would not get another epidural. And if anybody asks me to recommend an epidural, I won't, because I would not wish the issues I had after my delivery on anybody. Like, it hurt that bad. I was so scared that I was gonna be paralyzed. Like, that scared me. So my next baby is going to be a natural birth. It's not gonna be with any pain medication. Like, I'm just terrified of doing that over again and possibly being paralyzed. Like, being a part of that percentage of people who could potentially get paralyzed from getting that procedure done. It was just too close for comfort for me to have that particular issue. Because of my son, I didn't have any problems. I mean, of course, after a couple months, you know, I'm still having back pain, lower back pain. But I was like, okay, you know, I did want the epidural, so I mean, I'm gonna accept that. But my issues with my daughter when I had her and those complications scared me. I won't be getting another epidural. I will not. And I just don't like that it robbed me of being able to breastfeed my daughter, and being able to just have all that skin to skin time you get when you're in the hospital right after you have the baby. I couldn't really do any of that. Like, I did hold her, we did have skin to skin, but I was in pain, so I was not enjoying any of it. I was in excruciating pain for 2 days, because I had her on the 29th and I didn't get the blood patch until the 31st. So for 2 days they didn't know what was wrong with me. So that is why I felt like I was gonna be paralyzed. That is my birthing story for my daughter. I just wanted to share that with you guys. And if you have any questions in regards to the procedure or anything like that, definitely leave it down in the comment section for me. I'd be happy to answer any questions to the best of my knowledge. I'm not a medical professional, but I'll try to answer what I can based on my own experience. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like for me and make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. That would be greatly appreciated. But thank you guys so much for listening to me and listening to my story. I'll see you guys later in my next video. Thanks so much for watching.